Lewis Hamilton has now collected 4 separate penalties in just 3 race weekends of the 2026 Formula One season. For a driver who has spent nearly 2 decades competing at the very highest level, that statistic alone is shocking. Even more surprising is that these penalties have arrived during Hamilton's first full campaign with Ferrari, a season that was supposed to mark the beginning of one final championship challenge. Instead, every weekend seems to bring another investigation, another steward's decision, and another debate over whether Formula One's rulebook is being applied consistently. The story began at Silverstone, one of the most emotional races on the calendar for Hamilton. Racing in front of his home fans, expectations were enormous. Ferrari finally appeared capable of fighting at the front, and Hamilton looked determined to reward the thousands of supporters wearing red in the grandstands. His launch from the grid looked almost perfect, but only moments after the race started, the FIA informed Ferrari that Hamilton's start was under investigation. The accusation was simple. The stewards believed Hamilton had moved before the lights had officially gone out. Ferrari immediately challenged the claim, insisting that the team's own sensors showed no significant movement before the start. Team principal Fred Vasseur argued that Ferrari's telemetry did not support the FIA's conclusion and maintained that Hamilton had remained within the legal limits. The stewards, however, disagreed. After reviewing the available evidence, they ruled that Hamilton had moved on the third of the 5 red lights and issued him a 5-second time penalty. What should have been a second-place finish instantly became third, costing Ferrari and Hamilton valuable championship points. Yet that was only the beginning of the controversy. Later during the same weekend, the FIA opened a second investigation into Hamilton, this time over an alleged failure to slow sufficiently under yellow flag conditions. Suddenly, Hamilton had become the subject of 2 separate FIA investigations in a single Grand Prix weekend. Questions immediately spread throughout the paddock. Was Hamilton simply making mistakes, or were the stewards paying unusually close attention to one of Formula One's biggest stars? After further review, the FIA cleared Hamilton of the yellow flag allegation, choosing to issue only a reprimand rather than another sporting penalty. He kept his podium finish, but the weekend had already established a pattern that would continue throughout the following races. The attention then shifted to Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa has always been one of Formula One's most demanding circuits, where aggressive racing often produces controversial moments. On the opening lap, Hamilton found himself battling his former Mercedes teammate George Russell into the Les Combes corner complex. Neither driver wanted to give up position, and slight contact between the 2 cars sent Russell into the gravel, ending his race almost immediately. Hamilton continued, but the stewards once again launched an investigation. Their conclusion was familiar. Hamilton received another 5-second time penalty for causing the collision. What made the situation unusual was the reaction of the people directly involved. George Russell himself refused to blame Hamilton, describing the incident as one of those unavoidable racing moments that happen when drivers are fighting hard. Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur supported his driver even more strongly, saying that if the same situation happened again, he would instruct Hamilton to make exactly the same move because there was simply nowhere else for him to place the car. Despite both the victim of the collision and Hamilton's own team defending the move, the FIA maintained its decision and allowed the penalty to stand. The Belgian weekend produced another controversial moment during a virtual safety car pit stop. As Ferrari rushed to release Hamilton back onto the circuit, one of the mechanics was struck by the car during an unsafe release. The FIA investigated once again, but this time the responsibility fell on Ferrari rather than Hamilton. The team received a financial penalty while Hamilton escaped without another sporting sanction. Even so, many observers questioned how similar incidents could produce such different outcomes depending on who the FIA considered responsible. By the time Formula One arrived in Hungary, stewarding consistency had become one of the biggest talking points inside the paddock. During the official driver's briefing, Hamilton raised concerns directly with the FIA regarding jumpstart decisions. His argument was not that his Silverstone penalty should be cancelled but that similar movements by other drivers had not always resulted in punishment. According to Hamilton, every driver deserved to be judged by exactly the same standard. The FIA acknowledged those concerns and agreed to review how jumpstart regulations would be interpreted in future races. Importantly, however, Hamilton's Silverstone penalty remained unchanged. In fact, Hamilton openly admitted afterward that the mistake at Silverstone had been his own responsibility, saying simply, "Silverstone was my fault." That admission added another layer to the debate because while Hamilton believed stewarding consistency needed improvement, he also accepted that several of the penalties had resulted from his own errors. Unfortunately for Ferrari, the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend still had more drama to come. During the closing moments of qualifying, Hamilton completed one of his fastest laps just as Oscar Piastri approached on a flying lap behind him. Hamilton later explained that Ferrari warned him far too late over the radio and that by the time he realized Piastri was approaching, the McLaren was already at the apex of the corner. Following an extensive review of the onboard footage, GPS positioning, telemetry and team radio communications, the FIA decided Hamilton had impeded Piastri and issued him a three-place grid penalty. Instead of starting second, Hamilton was dropped to fifth on the grid. Once again, Hamilton accepted responsibility, admitting that he should have checked his mirrors regardless of the delayed communication from Ferrari. Race day initially appeared to offer Hamilton an opportunity to recover. Ferrari's strategy kept him in contention for another strong result until a late virtual safety car period created one final complication. During his pit stop, Hamilton accelerated away slightly too early while leaving the pit lane. The speed limit at the Hungaroring was set at exactly 80 km per hour. According to the official FIA data, Hamilton reached 80.1 km per hour, exceeding the limit by just 1/10 of a kilometer per hour. Fred Vasseur later argued that the true difference was even smaller once measurement tolerances and rounding were considered, suggesting Ferrari had effectively exceeded the limit by only a few hundredths of a kilometer per hour. Nevertheless, Formula One regulations allow no flexibility in pit lane speeding offenses. Any breach, regardless of how small, carries an automatic 5-second penalty. That punishment dropped Hamilton from 4th to 5th in the final classification behind teammate Charles Leclerc, making it his 4th separate sanction in only 3 race weekends. Hamilton's frustration became immediately clear over team radio as he responded, "They're handing out penalties like crazy." After the race, he added another pointed remark, saying, "Every opportunity one give those stewards, every single time they give me a penalty." Yet despite those comments, Hamilton did not attempt to place all of the blame elsewhere. Speaking honestly with reporters, he admitted that the previous 3 race weekends had not been good enough from his own side, accepted responsibility for both the Silverstone false start and the qualifying mistake in Hungary, and acknowledged that those errors had cost him valuable championship points. That honesty is what makes this story far more complicated than a simple argument between one driver and the FIA. Hamilton believes stewarding standards need greater consistency. The FIA has agreed to review certain procedures for future races. Ferrari has publicly defended several of the controversial decisions. George Russell defended Hamilton despite being eliminated from the Belgian Grand Prix by the collision, and Hamilton himself has openly admitted responsibility for multiple mistakes. All of those facts exist at the same time, creating one of the most fascinating debates of the 2026 Formula One season. For penalties in just 3 race weekends have dramatically affected Hamilton's championship challenge, but they have also reignited a much bigger discussion throughout Formula One. Are the FIA stewards applying the rules consistently to every driver on the grid, or has one of the sport's greatest champions simply endured an extraordinary run of costly mistakes? That question continues to divide